Today on the spot, we are live with demos of 2010 FIFA World Cup South Africa and Ragnarok on the DS. Then we go all out Xbox with an update of what's new this week on Xbox Live and report from the Microsoft Xbox event from San Francisco with new information and fresh looks at Fable 3, Dead Rising 2, Halo Reach, Alan Wake, and much, much more. We're live today on the spot.
Yes, indeed, we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome to a live episode of Today on the Spot. I'm Brian Eckberg, and I'm joined by Giancarlo Veronini. He is here, just one of the GameSpot editors who attended X10 today, which, of course, is Microsoft's press event. Now, Giancarlo, you know that a couple years ago, they had events in Barcelona. The year before that, it was in Amsterdam. But now, X10 is here in our backyard in San Francisco. So you were there not long ago. Give us a flavor for the event. What was it like?
So it's here in San Francisco, and basically it's a chance for Microsoft to kind of show its fall lineup or its upcoming lineup without the fervor of E3. But they have a few different areas for people to play the games, and they have some people like Peter Molyneux there and some guys from Bungie there that are talking about their respective games. So it's a nice chance to kind of check these games out and find out what they're all about. And
you guys will be hearing all about those games throughout the show. And of course, we have a lot of other stuff going on as well. The first up though, Giancarlo, you saw Halo Reach. I know that we're going to talk a little bit after this. I want to let you guys know that because we're live, you can send in questions. So send in questions to onthespot@gamespot.com. We've got giveaways. We got a regular show for you. But first, we're going to kick it off with a look at Halo Reach. We're not going to give anything away because you're talking about it on tape. So let's see the tape of Giancarlo talking about Halo Reach, and then we'll talk about the game right afterwards.
Giancarlo Veronini coming to you from Microsoft's X10 event, where we literally just got done with Bungie's presentation for Halo Reach. And the one thing that we got from the presentation is that Bungie is really making an effort to basically just revamp the entire Halo universe as we know it, at least from a technical standpoint. So what does that mean? That means that the graphics, the sound, and even things like the AI are getting completely overhauled for Halo Reach. We saw a few examples of this with the Noble Six, the main group that is the focus of Halo Reach. You can see just an insane amount of detail in their armor, in their weapons, and the environments too. We got to see a few different environments in one of the vid docs that will be released tomorrow. There's just really a lot of effort has been put to make sure that Reach is sort of this living, breathing world. They want to make sure that you know that in addition to this huge battle that's going on, there's also a huge civilian population that lives and works on Reach. But of course we saw a few other things as well. The sound has also been really overhauled. We got a little taste of a live presentation of one of the levels called Powerhouse. This is one of the levels that will be featured in the multiplayer beta that will be released on May 3rd. And we got to see Bungie representatives play around this level, and the changes that have been made to the sound are really drastic. All the weapons sound a lot more powerful. There's a lot more oomph behind things like grenades and stuff like that. In this map, we also got to see, like in Halo 3, you used to be able to get upgrades for your equipment, but they'd only be sort of a one-time use thing. But in Halo Reach, you can now get these items and you keep them and use them. The one that we saw was actually a sprint upgrade. And when you sprint, you'll see this meter on the left side of the screen that kind of lessens as the more you use it, and you have to wait for it to recharge and do all that good stuff. So we got a little taste of that. We also got a little bit of a taste of sort of the epic battles that will be in the game that were featured in the VIG doc, which will be released tomorrow. We saw a massive amount of vehicles on the screen, saw a massive amount of soldiers, and a massive amount of enemies. Really, they just want to make sure that Reach has these super epic battles, and it's already starting to show, so we're really looking forward to that. But yeah, really the biggest thing that came out of this is that the beta is coming May 3rd. It'll have a few different game types. They wouldn't really specifically say which ones, and we'll have some of the upgrades will be there as well, and there will be as well. But really, Bungie's putting a lot of effort into this game. For them, it sounds like this will be the definitive Halo game, and we're pretty excited about it. But if you want to learn more about Halo Reach, stay tuned at GameSpot.com. And for anything else here at X10, be sure to check out the site. So back to you guys in the studio.
All right, well, there you go. Giancarlo talking about Halo Reach, and you're here to talk about Halo Reach. It's amazing.
It's crazy.
So we heard a lot of stuff there. I know you saw the presentation you said was about 20 minutes. They went over a lot of stuff, right?
Yeah, they actually showed us a vid doc, which Bungie is known for. They kind of show behind-the-scenes stuff for the Halo games, and they have one ready for Halo Reach. Will be available on Xbox Live tomorrow. But it gave us a chance to kind of see other stuff that they've been working on for this game, particularly just how epic in scale that the battles are. There was one clip where we saw just a bunch of Marines and a bunch of Spartans and a bunch of vehicles and Covenant, and just the sense of scale is really impressive, and it's really hard to overstate just what they've done in terms of overhauling this engine to improve the level of detail in the graphics, the sound, and the one thing that I'm really, really waiting for is to see what the AI is like, how that's been revamped.
Sure. And I know I was talking to you before the show began about how they're handling the squad thing. Do you play as your own character, or do you switch around between members of the squad, or do you have a sense of how that works?
So for single player, they worded this very carefully. So they introduced all the members of the Noble Six squad. These are the 6 Spartans that are in this group that you're with. And so they introduced all of them, and then they said, here's you. And you're basically the currently unnamed Spartan. He's just a lieutenant. That's all we really know at this point. So we don't really know how the squad element of the game kind of factors into everything.
And we don't know how that'll affect multiplayer as well.
Right.
And I think you mentioned you saw the Powerhouse multiplayer level. Did you have any more detail on that?
Yeah, so that's one of the real-time demonstrations that we saw. It was a multiplayer level called Powerhouse that will be available in the beta when it launches May 3rd. And it's really this huge open world map that has a few kind of tight corridor areas in this powerhouse area, or in the power plant area.
Right.
And it just gave kind of a taste of what we can expect in terms of the weapons that will be available, and just sort of an environmental detail that you'll see in the game.
All right, Giancarlo, thanks for that. More on Halo Reach, of course, in the coming weeks and months ahead. Right now, it's fitting that we have This Week on Xbox Live today, because we're talking all about Microsoft and X10. So let's find out what's happening on the Xbox Live service with This Week on Xbox Live.
This week on Xbox Live, we got everything from Big Daddies, Future Soldiers, and Angry Chickens. First up in the arcade section, Darwinia Plus comes to you for 1,200 Microsoft points. The world of the peaceful Darwinians has been decimated by an evil virus, and without your help, they have no hope for survival. The Games on Demand section will have you battling for the title of the world's strongest in Street Fighter IV. Priced at $29.99, the mysterious Seth, CEO of the Sin Corporation, has set up yet another tournament and invited a blend of old friends and new faces to square off again. With 25 characters, a blend of 2D and 3D graphics, and the new focus attack system, Street Fighter has returned with a vengeance. A couple of indie games worth mentioning have you blasting colorless enemies and chickens. In Impossible Shooter, the colorless enemies have arrived, and they want to turn you, the last color fighter, into one of them, and it's up to you to put color back into them in order to save your world. In Shooting Chicken Revenge, players take on the role of Haruka Higashiyama, and you'll have to smash the angry chickens looking to exact their revenge with every weapon at your disposal. If you're less into obliterating poultry and more into racing, then head on over to the demo section and download Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing. Join Sonic and his Sega friends as they dodge weapons, perform tricks and drifts as you blast past your rivals into pole position. The game add-on section has survivor missions available for Dark Void. For 400 Microsoft points, the survivor missions will have players reliving key events from the game as you battle waves of increasingly difficult enemy troops. For Forza Motorsport 3, you can pick up the Nürburgring GP Track Pack for 400 Microsoft points. This track pack brings a modern touch to the ring, run either the full or short loops, famous for hosting the ADAC 1,000 kilometer Nürburgring endurance race. A trailer is also available for your viewing pleasure in the game video section. Rounding out the add-ons is the Megadeth Rust in Peace track pack for Rock Band. For 1,200 Microsoft points, you can download all 9 tracks from the album, including 5 Magics, Take No Prisoners, and Hangar 18, among others. Rounding out the weekly marketplace offerings are a couple hot game videos for download. Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Future Soldier Phantom Op trailer gives you a first glimpse in the next chapter of Ubisoft's popular war franchise. Armed to the teeth with an arsenal of real-world high-tech weaponry, you're an F-16 on legs, trained to lock onto your objective even in the world's most complex, high-risk war zones. Lastly, step into the boots of the most iconic denizen of Rapture, the Big Daddy, as you explore through the decrepit and beautiful Fallen City, chasing an unseen foe in search of answers and your own survival in the BioShock 2 launch trailer. That's all the time we have. Be sure to tune in every Thursday when we bring you the latest This Week on Xbox Live.
There you go. That's what's happening on Xbox Live this week. I just downloaded that Nürburgring Grand Prix track right before the show started. I can't wait to get on the track and test it out for myself. But Tor Thorson is here with the news. I guess when you have a Microsoft press event, things happen, they announce things.
Yeah, a few things got announced. As Giancarlo mentioned, the Halo Reach beta is going to start on May 3rd. And that's only available to people who bought Halo 3 ODST, and it's actually going to be on the disc itself, kind of like if you bought Crackdown in 2007, how you get access to the Halo 3 beta.
Right.
Same thing, basically. They want you to go buy this so you can play that. So that's your big main thing.
A bump in ODST sales coming soon.
But yeah, definitely that. But I mean, that already sold like crazy, but still, who knows? Another big thing for a lot of people like me who've been waiting for this game forever is Alan Wake finally got a release date. That thing was announced in 2005, so about just exactly 5 years later. It's going to come out on May 18th in the US, May 21st in Europe.
Okay.
And it's going to be available both as a regular edition, and online retailers are already listing this really kind of fat collector's edition. It's $80. For that, you get a in-game disc with box art or unique art, concept art kind of stuff. You get exclusive in-game audio commentary and hints by Remedy. You get a 144-page book called the Alan Wake Files, which includes a short story by the game's writers and some investigating all the light events inside the Bright Falls. Get it, Bright Falls. Anyway, an exclusive audio disc with the soundtrack. Game add-on token was redeemable for Xbox Live for the first Alan Wake add-on, and then there's also an exclusive Xbox disc with special content like an Alan Wake Xbox Live theme for make your Xbox extra spooky.
So they're focusing on the 360 version. Is the PC version still in limbo?
The PC version, they said, I think it was last August, they announced they would be in limbo, and they're basically focusing on it. I mean, the big thing for Microsoft this year is 360 exclusive, 360 exclusive, 360 exclusive.
Right.
I mean, Sony's coming at them with a lot of really good PlayStation stuff. So they're up to Microsoft since they're publishing if they want to bring it to PC. In the past, we've seen very big time 360 exclusive eventually make their way to PC. So I wouldn't hold my breath on it though.
Right.
I'm going to hold my breath for Dead Rising 2 that comes out on August 31st. I'll probably be undead if I do that. But anyway, that's coming on August 31st in the US, September 2nd in Japan, September 3rd in Europe. And it's going to, if you get it on the 360, they've got some really nice incentives for you. You get this thing called Dead Rising 2 Case Zero. It's an exclusive episode that bridges Dead Rising 1 and Dead Rising 2 and introduces you to Dead Rising 2's protagonist. Another bonus, if you're in Japan and you can download the Dead Rising Zombrex live-action movie that's directed by Keiji Inafune. It looks like a really kind of cheesy shot-on-video thing, but it'd be fun. We don't know if it's coming to the U.S., but it's if you're into horror movies and you like Inafune, there you go.
Does the late August release date surprise you? You'd think that game like that would be released in the fall.
You think so, but I mean, look at past August releases like BioShock, for instance. They've done really well, and I mean, Microsoft's got their back half really loaded. They're going to have Halo Reach coming out. That's their big fall hitter, and they probably don't want to cannibalize sales. So that's they're gonna have brain-eating zombies in this one. So other than that, the big news coming out is remember that $400 Final Fantasy 13 Xbox 360 bundle?
I do remember that.
Surprise, it's real.
Yep.
It's going to come with a 250 gigabyte disc, a white Xbox 360, 2 matching white controllers, but no special graphics. It's not going to be like the PlayStation 3 that was bundled with Final Fantasy 13 in Japan. It's just kind of a flat white. It's going to come with the game, obviously, and some exclusive avatar items, presumably hairstyles for your
chocobos to live in.
Exactly. So something like that, and also
a faceplate.
And a faceplate. This is actually not part of the Final Fantasy 13 bundle, but it's going to be sold separately. It's got graphics designed by Tetsuya Nomura. He's one of the character designers for Final Fantasy 13. So that's going to be available in very limited quantities, they say. So, but it's in North America, Europe, and Australasia.
And we'll be giving a few of these away at the end of the show with some trivia questions. Right. So look forward to that. Tor, what else?
Other and non-Microsoft news, or related to semi-Microsoft news, NPD numbers just dropped. Game sales were down 13% in January, which is kind of a bummer. They went down to $1.17 billion in the U.S. The top console for the month was, surprise, it's the Wii again, with 465,000 units. The Nintendo DS came in second with 422,000 units. The Xbox 360 was in third with 332,000 units. And the PlayStation 3 was in fourth with 276,000 units. PSP in fifth with only 100,000 units. And the PlayStation 2 is finally really slowing down, just 41,000 units sold.
It's about time.
It is. It's getting old. Time to take it up to a farm upstate. The number one game for the month of January was New Super Mario Bros. Wii. That surprised a lot of people, because especially given how EA has been touting Mass Effect. So Mass Effect 2 came in second on the 360 with 572,000 units. Oh, sorry, New Super Mario Bros. Had 656,000 units.
Okay.
In third was Wii Fit Plus with 555,000 units. The Xbox 360 version of Call of Duty Modern Warfare was fourth with 326,000 units. Mario Kart Wii still hanging in there.
Speaking of things that won't die.
I know. It came out in April 2008, and here we are, January 2010, and it's in 5th with 310,000 units. Wii Sports Resort, 297,000 units. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 for the PlayStation 3, it's got 259,000 units. Army of Two, the 40th Day, that was another, also January debut, 246,000 units. And Just Dance from Ubisoft, for all you want to cut it up, cut a rug a little bit with your Wii, that's 191,000 units. And Darksiders came in 10th.
That's kind of a bummer.
That is kind of a bummer, with 171,000 units on the Xbox 360.
I understand you have some Activision news as well?
Also kind of a bummer, I guess if you're an Activision stockholder. Activision, they lost $286 million in the fourth quarter, the holiday quarter, and they blamed it on a write-down of their music genre. They basically, the music genre, for those of you out there who don't know, is extremely saturated. They had something like 25 SKUs, which is an individual product. Right. A Guitar Hero and DJ Hero SKUs last year. So they basically wrote down their, they basically realized that it's when you write down your assets, when your assets are no longer that valuable. So they did that for their music stuff. And related to that, next year they're only going to release, or this year they're only going to release only two music games. They're going to release DJ Hero 2 and an unnamed Guitar Hero game, both in the second half of the year. And they basically said in their conference call, we got the message, nobody's buying music games anymore, we're going to kind of like staunch the flow.
But I'm glad DJ Hero's getting another shot.
It is. I mean, it's a really good game, you know, and they have faith in that. Unfortunately, another thing, well, not even unfortunately, but they also have faith in the fact that they're going to release a new Tony Hawk Ride game.
Yeah.
They're convinced the hardware is not, you know, it still hasn't maximized its potential yet.
Okay, yeah.
You know, and they said the hardware is fine. They're like, we're going to work on the software now.
Got
we're going
it.
to do that. So
that was the problem.
Yeah, get the hardware talking to the console. That's the main thing. Also coming up on their Activision 2010 schedule, there's a Blur beta coming out in March,
which is like right before the game comes out. Is this a demo or a beta?
They said beta. It was during the call. It's coming out in the second quarter still. We don't know when exactly. Retailers are listing it for April. We're not positive when. They reconfirmed that yes, there is going to be a new Call of Duty this year. Surprise. So there's more Call of Duty heading down the pipe. It's rumored to be the Cold War themed one or Vietnam themed one. I guess we'll have to wait and see. Treyarch is developing it. Other than that, we've going to have in the second quarter, we're also going to have Singularity and Transformers: The War for Cybertron. And then in the back half of the year, they're going to have new Spider-Man and a new James Bond game that's rumored to be actually a driving-centered game, also from Bizarre Creations. And it's not going to be tied into a movie. So you don't have to worry about. I mean, I'm hoping for another Tomorrow Never Dies kind of action, because that was the most underrated James Bond game, and people didn't really give it a fair shot.
It was no Quantum of Solace, Tor Thorson. Just kidding.
Quantum of Solace. Oh man. That movie was terrible.
Yeah.
But anyway, so last but not least, the good news coming out of that is StarCraft 2 closed beta begins this month. So head on over to Blizzard.com to sign up.
And Activision will probably make some of those losses back.
Yes. Actually, one last thing, an analyst predicted at least 6 million StarCraft 2 sales.
That sounds about
this
right.
year. Yeah, no kidding.
All right, Tor, thank you so much for the news
problem.
update. Now it's time to take a look at 2010 World Cup. FIFA World Cup South Africa. The guys from EA were here with me earlier this week to take a look at their new soccer game based off the FIFA 10 engine, but of course it has everything to do with the World Cup coming up this June. So let's take a look at that game right now. Hey everyone, Brian Eckberg here with your daily demo. We're taking a look at 2010 FIFA World Cup South Africa. Luke did, I got that correct the first time, amazing. You're the producer on the game and you're here. Thank you for being here, we appreciate it.
My pleasure.
All right, so World Cup game, obviously the big tournament is coming later this summer. You guys are working on a World Cup game. High level, what was the goal for World Cup this time around?
The goal for World Cup this time was to make sure we brought the authenticity of the tournament to the console, to the user. For the first time, you can play as all 199 teams that participated in the World Cup qualification. That's actually up from 127 from World Cup 2006. So we've made a big step forward there. So you can play as the Englands, the Brazils, the USAs, and the Vanuatus of the world.
Right.
So we really have gone all out to make sure that you can play as everybody. It's a worldwide game with a worldwide event.
All right, well, don't keep us hanging. Let's kick this game off.
Right, so another big thing for us was to take the gameplay from FIFA 10 and improve on what they had. So there was quite a few complaints that and exploits that the users found. So our first focus was to improve a lot of those things to make sure we were giving the user experience, the users the experience they wanted. So things like chip shots, finesse shots, goalkeeper positioning, refereeing, and so on. We've improved massively.
It seems like year in and year out, the FIFA team's always talking about goalkeeper improvements. Goalkeepers improve year in and year out. What's the goal this year?
The goal this year was to really make the goalkeepers have that positioning realism that we felt it was lacking. It was also just to improve and just generally add to the realism and the complexity of being a goalkeeper. So really to focus on getting it as accurate as possible.
Okay.
So in addition to improving the core engine, what we worked with the gameplay team on providing was some authentic World Cup gameplay improvements, things like altitude. So we know that going to places in South America, such as Ecuador and so on, will make it more tricky, basically because of the playing conditions and the altitude that users will experience, or players will experience in the real world. So the ball will actually move differently. We try to replicate that those physics within the game, so it will move straighter and faster. In addition to that, we've added home and away advantage as well, which will see teams adapt to strategies and be more clever in how they approach the game. So a weaker team will generally be more defensive, making it more challenging to unlock those defenses.
I know we're in the single player game here, but while we're here, let's talk a little bit about what you guys are doing online, because there's a lot to talk about, right?
There is a lot to talk about. So today we're pleased to announce that for the first time you're going to be able to play in a full online World Cup tournament. So that's the group stages, the 3 group matches, so you will progress through. If you successfully get through those games, you go into the knockout stages, so the round of 16, quarterfinals, semi-final, and also the World Cup final. And ultimately you'll be able to take your favourite nation on to win the World Cup. Some important things that we've also done to that mode is we've made it so that you don't have to play and be online for that consecutive experience. You can play one game, you can then leave the game for 1 or 2 days or 1 hour, depending on how your time fits around the game, and you can come back and progress from where you left off. So you can get through and come back to the game, which we're really pleased to bring to the users.
Definitely a lot to talk about World Cup. I know you guys have more to announce as we get closer to the release date. Final question I have for you today is, what platforms is it coming on and when's it coming out?
2010 FIFA World Cup South Africa will be available on the Xbox 360, on the PlayStation 3, on the Nintendo Wii and the PlayStation Portable. It will be released April 27th in North America and April 30th worldwide.
Okay. There you go, your look at 2010 FIFA World Cup South Africa. Thank you for being here, appreciate that. And there's your daily demo for the day. FIFA World Cup 2010 coming in April. All I can say is that Brian Ekberg back there needs a haircut. Justin Calvert is here. Justin, welcome to the show.
How you doing, Brian?
I'm doing fantastic. You were at X10 and you just saw Fable 3. I don't want to talk about Fable 3 too much because you're just about to tell us about it.
Yes.
But on tape. But tell me about the event. What was it like? Was it crowded? Was it loud?
It was loud.
Yeah.
They had some problems with when I got into the Fable 3 demo actually, because we got in there and it was pretty much on the floor, and they had like loud DJ music playing and stuff, and none of us could actually hear Peter talking, so he had to have them turn all the music off. And apparently the same thing was going on in the Halo Reach demo. Like nobody could
turn the music down. We want to hear about the games.
Yeah, that's why we're there.
Anyway, Justin's going to tell you all about Fable 3 right now.
At the X10 event in San Francisco, where Microsoft is showing off a bunch of upcoming games. I've just got out of a presentation where Peter Molyneux was showing off Fable 3. It's the first time I've seen it. I think it's probably the first time anybody's seen it. And yeah, as expected, he showed off a bunch of interesting stuff. It wasn't all crazy Natal stuff, so that's good. It wasn't Fable 3D, which was something I personally was worried about. So he showed off a number of new features, the first of which is the idea of touch. And this is something that I think the idea is that it's going to replace emotes the way they were in Fable 2. So, for example, if you meet someone in the street and you want to become their friend, the first thing you do isn't going to be to like go and dance in front of them. That's not how you express to someone that you want to get to know them or something. So what you can do is touch them. It might sound a little weird, but there's different ways that this thing will manifest itself. It's very context sensitive. So in the demo, the first thing we saw was Peter's character went to find his daughter, like his young daughter, and he found her and she was upset. So when he hit the touch button, he was kind of comforting his daughter and playing with her, like tossing her up in the air. And then, as the father, he kind of took her by the hand and was walking her through the streets of what I assume was Bowerstone. I'm not entirely sure. So that's touch. And then to show how different ways you can use touch, Another thing he did was when he came across like a beggar in the street who was asking for money, he actually like grabbed the beggar by the hand, and at first the beggar was fine. I guess the beggar didn't really know what was going on, and then he kind of realized that, you know, Molyneux always plays these characters evil, so what Peter was actually doing was taking this beggar off to a factory to sell him. And so as Peter's kind of walking him along, the beggar's resisting and pulling back. So that was kind of cool. So then the next thing he talked about was the idea of followers. It's a pretty big thing in Fable 3 where I think it's known already that, you know, ultimately the idea is that you get to become king. And before you can do that, you need to overthrow the current king. And if you want to do that, you have to have people following you who are going to support you. So part of the thing you're going to be doing is going around and trying to convince people that you're the right person for this job. So there are different ways you're going to be able to do that. You know, some people are just going to be really impressed by your kind of prowess in combat. Other people might be impressed if you just kind of help them out with stuff. You know, other people might respond to you being evil and kind of, you know, assembling some kind of army, that kind of thing. So yeah, followers definitely another big thing in Fable 3. And then, when you become king, or it sounds like at some point you're going to overthrow the king, and at that point, when you're kind of assaulting the castle, the people that you've collected as followers will accompany you. And then as king, you know, you're going to have different decisions that you have to make. You're not just going to be making decisions for yourself anymore. It's going to, you know, the first thing that's going to happen is you become king, and you have access to a vast kind of treasury of gold. So, you know, what are you going to use it for? Are you going to assemble an army and maybe, you know, try and go up against some rival continent? Or are you going to feed the poor? You know, and you're going to have to maintain a certain, you know, keep people happy. That's going to be part of your job now. So another thing is combat. Now, from what I saw today, it looks like combat isn't going to change that dramatically. It's still, you know, basically swords, guns, and magic. But the thing that's really cool is that the way your character is always kind of morphed in Fable 2, and in Fable 1 before that, now your weapons are going to morph. So you're going to get a weapon, and firstly, like, the more you use that weapon, the bigger and the more powerful it's going to get. So that's the first thing. But also, like, depending on what kind of enemies you kill with it, that's going to affect its appearance a lot. So, for example, like, we saw what Peter's character was wielding this giant hammer/axe, and it appeared to be made of like weird dinosaur bones or something. So yeah, you can probably assume that he's been using that out in the wilderness to kill monsters or something. But then he also had a sword that was dripping in blood, like permanently, and that's because he'd been using it to do evil stuff, like he's killing innocent people. And the other thing I'll say is that his character, I mean, you know, in Fable 2, your characters look kind of evil. Peter's character in Fable 3 looks like kind of Devil Kazuya or something out of World of Warcraft. He had like in the middle of combat, like he had these red glowing kind of demonic tattoos all over his body, and they were translucent, so they weren't really part of his body, but he would have actually like horns and wings like sprouting from his body. So he basically looked like the devil. And based on some of the footage that we saw, you know, the opposite of that is that you're going to look really angelic. Like we saw a character with big white wings and that kind of stuff. And again, that wasn't a physical thing. It was just like an appearance. It's just a visual thing. So yeah, that's about all we saw of Fable 3 today. For more information on everything here at X10, be sure to check the site. And right now, back to you guys in the studio.
All right, there's your first report on Fable 3 from X10. Justin's here. I want to talk to him about Fable 3, but before I do, I want to let you guys know if you have questions, we might be having trouble with email right now, so if you have a question about any of these games, including stuff that's coming up like Dead Rising 2, Alan Wake, Splinter Cell Conviction, all that stuff that's coming a little bit later in the show, leave a comment on the spot page. I'll be checking that periodically, and once we've got the editor here, I might be able to ask a question or two from you guys, because we want to hear from you. Justin, Fable 3, we heard what some of the things the game has to offer, but I think one thing you didn't touch on that you were telling me is co-op. What do you know about that?
Yeah, he didn't say a whole lot about co-op play, but what he did tell us was that unlike Fable 2, in Fable 3 you'll definitely both be able to use your own characters, which was obviously a huge thing that was missing from Fable 2, and also you'll both have your own dogs in there as well. So that's kind of cool. And then the other thing he just kind of touched upon, but none of, oh man, I've said it now. That's like a stupid pun. But like the other thing he mentioned really briefly was that like you will be able to touch each other.
Okay.
So
Okay.
That's not a,
maybe not appropriate for this show.
Yeah, that's not a line of questioning I chose to pursue with him.
But it's nice to hear that the dog is in Fable 3. That's
yeah,
big.
the dog is there in full effect.
That's
like
awesome.
I'm not sure. I can't remember what I said on there now. That guy wouldn't shut up, would I? But yeah, the bit where you like find your young daughter there right at the start of the demo, it was really cool because like she was there playing with her little friends and stuff, and the dog was there almost like kind of protecting them or
Right.
whatever. That was implied. And then as you're kind of walking off with her hand in hand, like the dog's just following behind and stuff. Like this is really cool.
So nice to see the dog is coming back. Now we know Lionhead is working with Natal pretty closely. Did Peter mention anything about Natal support for Fable 3?
No, the only thing he really said was actually right at the end during a kind of a brief QA session that we had. And really he just said like, he's super excited about that stuff, and he thinks there's a lot of stuff he can do with that in Fable 3, and I'm sure they will do some of it. Like he did basically say that there are some Natal surprises coming.
Okay.
But he also made a point of saying that this game is definitely being designed primarily to be played with a regular controller.
Right.
Which I think put a few people's fears to rest, because there were some weird rumors going around.
All right, well, thanks for being. I know you had a good time checking out Fable 3.
Yeah.
Can't get enough of it. Justin, thanks for being here. Right now, we're going to take a look at another daily demo. This one's of Ragnarok for the Nintendo DS. Take it away.
All right, everybody, it's time for your daily demo. Right now, we've got Ragnarok DS, courtesy of our friend Jimmy Soga from Xseed. Jimmy, how you doing?
Good, man. Thanks for having me.
So, Ragnarok DS, it's an MMO on a handheld system. How does that work exactly? That seems like a tall order, getting that together.
You pretty much summed everything up, but yeah, like you said, Ragnarok Online is the MMO for the PC, and this is like a faithful recreation for the DS of the Ragnarok Online. So basically everything that you can do on Ragnarok Online, all the elements are in this game. So the only thing it's lacking is the MMO aspect. All the items, basically like the gameplay itself really plays out like the MMO version. The biggest difference is that everything you'd be able to control with a stylus.
Okay. So it's a role-playing game, and key to that genre is the story and the characters. So can you give us a heads up on what sort of plot we should expect out of this game?
So that's another part that's different from the MMO version, is that it has a story of the beginning, middle, and end. You play as the main character named Alice, who is trying to be an adventurer. Basically, it's like a work-for-hire type person, a mercenary, and you're trying to make your own guild, try to get more fame, more money, and along the way you bump into a girl who mysteriously has amnesia, and she has mysterious powers, and other people are trying to get her.
Fame and money always leads to mysterious powers, I tell you what. So how does the combat system work in this game?
So all the enemies are on screen. You can go up to them, and if you want to attack an enemy, like I said, everything's done by a stylus. So if you want to attack the enemy, you tap on that enemy. If you want to use special moves, there's certain item bars that you can see on the top, and you make certain, not gestures, but movement with your stylus to unleash those magic spells or special attacks, and depending on what kind of weapon, what kind of job class you have, you do different types of movements.
In this environment that we're seeing on screen right now, it's this sort of like a grassy area. It's very outdoorsy, very foresty. Is this typical of the environments in the game, or do you encounter like cities filled with other characters?
There's different towns, cities, but right now it's in a foresty area. But yeah, there's a lot of different types of like cave type, deserts that you, and yeah, basically it's a world, and it has 2 continents, so you'll be able to see a lot of different types of environments within the game.
And roughly how big is the whole package? How large is the game in terms of like the main story and the optional side stuff?
If you just go through the story, it's probably about 30 to 40 hours gameplay. Okay. You have a nice, good chunk of gameplay, but if you want to...
Pretty hefty?
If you want to finish everything, it'll probably take about 70
hours.
And another different part of this game compared to other RPG is that it's an open-ended game, so there is a story that you finish with, but you can keep playing and you can keep leveling up. It also has Wi-Fi capability. So if other friends that has the game, you can go to this special place called the Mirage Tower, and you can play up to 4 people at once. So if somebody that you know has it in the main island, you can play with that person in Wi-Fi and take on quests together.
All right, well, it definitely seems like there's a whole lot of content in Ragnarok DS. Jimmy, before I let you go, one last question. When is the game out, and is this specifically for the Nintendo DS?
This is specific for the Nintendo DS, and the game's coming out on February 16th.
All right, thank you very much.
Thanks, man.
Thanks for dropping by, and on with the rest of the show.
All right, there's your daily demo for Ragnarok for DS coming soon. One thing I should mention, I saw on the comments page, guys, that you're wondering where all the footage of the games is. Why is it just editors talking about the games? Well, the footage is coming, and this is a press event. They're still getting us assets. So you please check back the site all night tonight. We'll be putting up stories, interviews with all of the developers, footage, all that good stuff. We're going to be having a ton of X10 stuff hitting the site throughout the day and probably into Friday as well. Giancarlo's back with me. Giancarlo, did you see anything on Fable 3, or were you all about Halo Reach when you were there?
Well, they kind of had Fable 3 kind of tucked off in the corner. I saw Peter there speaking about it, and I really, really wanted to check it out, especially after just hearing what Justin saw.
Yeah.
I may have to go back and look at it,
Yeah.
but no, I just made a beeline right for Halo Reach. So
That's the nice thing is they're going to have the press event's going all night tonight, so we can go back and check out some stuff later. Anyway, one of the things that Sean McInnes saw earlier today at the X10 event was Dead Rising 2. We're going to hear from him about that game right now. We might have some footage of that game right afterwards. So Sean, take it away.
Hi, this is Tom McShade, X10 in San Francisco, and we are here with the newest build of Dead Rising 2. As you can see, the sledgehammer makes a triumphant, and you can both hit them horizontally for a weak attack, or the vertical attack, which is gross. I think you can break into about 20 or 50 pieces there after you hit them. So the newest feature in this version of the game is a combo room. So now you can take weapons you find, take them to a room, and combining them into one super terrifying weapon of destruction. So we're about to get a taste of that right now with I'm not sure what we're going to see. Maybe an oar and a chainsaw? I don't know. So during the course of the game, you find cards that give you like clues on what kind of weapons can be combined to form even deadlier weapons, but you can also just mess around in this room and see what you can come up with. As you can see, the protagonist Chuck is putting 2 and 2 together and sees that there's an oar and a chainsaw, which should definitely be combined for something, some evil purpose. So you just have to pick up all the weapons and put them to the bench. And luckily he has duct tape with him at all times, so you just stitch the 2 together automatically. So I guess this is where things get pretty violent in a hurry. You don't have to worry about just killing one zombie at a time anymore. Yeah, this is pretty gross. Why it's time? Well, it's time because it's a demo. So this is the main mode of the game. And like the original, there's a time limit. So there's a survivor who needs to be saved, and you have 10 minutes of real time to save them. And if you don't, they get killed. So it's a similar structure where you have to constantly move forward in the game to progress. But just like the original Dead Rising, you can stick around and just grind to level up or earn money, and then restart the game with your new powers so you can be more powerful when you're killing all the zombies. So it's a very similar progression as the first game. You can see now you're combining, what is this, a propane tank and nails? It sounds like a really bad combination. This is definitely going to explode in your face, isn't it? What is this? IED? What does IED stand for? There's an improvised explosive device. Now you're combining a rake with a battery. I hope that's a metal rake. Oh. What is the rake called now? Just an electric rake? It's the electro rake. That is pretty awesome. Can you shock them when they're already on the ground to make them convulse a little? Uh-oh. Lucky one bite doesn't turn. Oh, God. So you can just destroy them into little tiny zombie pieces.
Go get that IED. I think I need a gun.
So I guess the big difference is this takes place in Vegas as opposed to a mall. So now there is gambling. You can go into casinos and play around with slot machines, and there's actually an economy this time. So you can go to pawn shops that you find on the strip and purchase combo cards to make cool weapons or really expensive weapons that have obscenely high prices because there is no real economy when the zombies are taking over Vegas. There's also peep shows where you can earn level up points, or you can go into stores and dress in the finest outfits available in Vegas. What is that, a mesh shirt you're wearing? It's very, very classy. Is there,
Remind us, for more information on Dead Rising 2 or their stuff from X10.
Okay.
Back to you guys in the studio.
Okay. For more information on Dead Rising 2 or anything else that happened at X10, check out the site. Back to you guys.
Well, as you can tell, Sean McInnes looks way different on camera than he does in real life. Of course, that was Tom McShay taking a look at Dead Rising 2. Sorry about that, Tom. But we have the real Sean McInnes here in the studio, man. What's up?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, Brian?
I'm doing fantastic. And dude, you have an X10 press badge.
I just got back. I'm still a little bit winded. Just had my requisite chocolate chip cookie. I'm having a good time.
All right, great.
It's a lot of fun over there.
You've seen a couple of games. The first one we're going to talk about is Crackdown 2, right?
Crackdown 2, exactly. Okay. The sequel to one of my very favorite open world action games of all time, the original Crackdown. You're basically a superhero just like running and jumping all over the city. It's really actually a platformer at heart. You're just, gaining agility, jumping up buildings, jumping off buildings, and throwing cars at people.
And they have a new developer this time around, right?
Yeah, new developer. They moved from Real-Time Worlds to Ruffian, but a lot of the old staff is working on the game.
All right, well, we're about to hear from Sean, his full Crackdown 2 experience, but before we do that, you also saw some Left 4 Dead. We'll be talking about that as well.
Yeah, the new DLC.
Give us a preview for Left 4 Dead.
Just teasing you guys a little bit.
So a little bit of that. That's going to be awesome. Any other surprises that you noticed at the event while you were there?
No surprises off the top of my head, but we can go back and edit this in post-production when I can think of something, it'll be good.
No, we're live.
What?
This is happening
live.
What?
This is live.
Live.
We do live?
If I were to say the F word right now, I'd get fired.
Fart.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the one.
Anyway, Sean's impressions of Crackdown 2. Let's go to that right now. Sean, take us away.
Here in X10 in San Francisco. Now, I just had the privilege of taking a look at Crackdown 2, courtesy of a couple reps from Ruffian, the developer. Now, they showed off two different areas of the game. One was this mission where they're going up against this group called the Cell. Now, the Cell is this group of angry civilians. They've blamed the agency for this freak outbreak. The freaks, as you know, are the zombies in Crackdown 2. They come out at night, they terrorize the world, they add like an entirely new layer of gameplay because they're just there to be mowed down totally by any sort of like imagination that you want. So it's really cool. Now the Cell, they're angry, they blame the agency, they're sympathetic to the freaks, and they've got these strongholds that you need to infiltrate to steal back some technology that they've taken from the agency. So what they showed off today is a couple different things. One is the new mission structure, which is, in Crackdown 1, you might remember, it's very simple. You run in, you beat up a gang boss, you're done with that mission. In Crackdown 2, it's multi-stage missions, so you've actually got stuff to do. You have like objects that you need to find. You need to go take care of this thing, go do that thing, go do that thing. It's it's a bit more strategy involved in Crackdown 2. They showed some other things like mid-mission supply points, so you can refill your guns and vehicles while in the mission. You don't have to run all the way back to agency headquarters, which looks really cool. So that was the cell mission they showed off. The other part was this new area called Unity Heights, and they didn't really do any missions there. They just did some like sandboxy, free form running around, just having fun with the game in your own sort of playground type of situation. One thing they did is they leveled up their character all the way. Imagine that they had gone and taken all the agility orbs. They grabbed all those, climbed right up to the top of this skyscraper, and jumped off, wondering if they're committing suicide or not. Turns out they weren't. They're showing off this new feature called the wingsuit, which is basically like a hang glider built into your suit. So you jump off a building, and you can actually like glide and swoop around. It looks really cool. And then they went and they showed off this new agency helicopter, one of the new agency vehicles in the game. So there's definitely a lot to check out. They did 2-player co-op, but Crackdown 2 supports up to 4 players now. So definitely a lot of potential for sandbox destruction and just free-form violence. So basically all my favorite things in the world. So that's your impressions of Crackdown 2. We've got plenty more of X10 coming up.
Sandbox destruction sounds pretty fun. We've still got Sean McInnes here. You didn't cover everything there, right? There's still some things to talk about.
I've got to say, I don't really look like that in real life, do I? They doctored that footage to make me look like I'm 12 years old. I look at least 35.
Well, that's what I mean. On tape, you look a lot more like Tom McShay.
Okay, yeah, that's
exactly
true. That makes sense.
So Crackdown 2, you gave us a lot of details there, but not the whole story, right? There's still some other things.
Yeah. There's basically, I talked about like some of the factions that you meet on land while you're in the city, but the freaks, like the zombies, they're like the main enemy in the game. They come out at night, and it's
the freaks do come out.
The freaks come out at night, and they actually show this one part where the freaks were just like totally swarming on the roads. They got into a car. They were just like plowing through all these like shambling zombies around like a hot knife through butter, and it was really cool because that's the type of game where you can do a whole lot of stuff. You can pick up a car and like throw it from the top of a building.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can like mow over zombies in like a speeding vehicle. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And you and I have an affinity for games where you can throw big, heavy objects.
Throw big, heavy objects from the tops of buildings.
Exactly. Coolest power you saw in the demo of Crackdown 2? Coolest thing you saw?
The new wingsuit. It's this thing where, it's a game where you go around town, you gain these things called agility orbs, and you go from like a mild-mannered, like secret agent at the beginning to like a super beefed-up like force of destruction towards the end of the game. And one of the things that you unlock over the course of that progression is this thing called the wingsuit. It's basically like a flying squirrel hang glider suit built into your armor. So you jump off the top of a building, and you just sort of like glide around, and you can dive bomb, you can swoop up, and you can like if there's enemies at the bottom of a skyscraper, you can jump, you dive bomb, you go straight vertical, and you go like hit terminal velocity, and then you just like foot stomp the ground.
That's awesome.
And knock out like a huge radius of bad guys.
It sounds pretty awesome.
It's a super fun game.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, Sean's write-up of Crackdown 2 is coming up later today, and your write-up of Left 4 Dead 2, you saw that as well.
New DLC called The Passing.
All right, well, let's take a look at Sean's impressions of The Passing for Left 4 Dead 2 right now.
John here. I'm still at X10, having a lot of fun. Right now, what I'm about to play is the new Left 4 Dead 2 DLC called The Passing. This is DLC that's coming out at the end of March, so let's go ahead and get right into it. As you'll notice, same 4 survivors. It's Ellis, Coach, Nick, and Rochelle. I'm playing as the greatest character, Ellis, of course. So the whole gist of The Passing is that it takes place between Dead Center and Dark Carnival, which were the first 2 campaigns in Left 4 Dead 2. Basically, as you'll recall, they stole this NASCAR stock car type deal from the mall, and they tried to drive it to Salvation. It didn't quite work out as well as what they were hoping, so they got stuck in traffic at the beginning of Dark Carnival. And so The Passing sort of fills in the gap between those 2 campaigns. It's in a small town in southern Georgia, as you can tell here. This is sort of the Main Street area. And The Passing it's 3 different maps, so 3 chapters in other words. And the new additions here is there's 2 different weapons. There's an M60, it's a heavy machine gun, and there's also a new melee weapon, which is the golf club. Unfortunately, the golf club is not in this particular build that I'm playing right now, but the M60 is. So hopefully I'll be able to find one of those while not getting tanked to death. Oh, that would be ideal, wouldn't it, everybody? Oh gosh. Help, buddies. That's a tank. That's a tank. All right. I'm gonna heal up. Oh, hold on. Oh, okay. So that was a little bit scary. So you can tell one of the bosses is still in the game. Nick, would you mind healing me? All right, you're my homie. I officially owe a Wookiee life debt to Nick right now. So let's head inside into this pool hall. Ooh, I believe this is the gun that we were looking for. Oh, I like the look of this thing. Let's go find some zombies to shoot up, shall we? So yeah, as I was saying, there's a new. This is the new gun. There's also a new golf club. There's a new uncommon common as well. The uncommon common were sort of the mini bosses of Left 4 Dead 2. You might remember some of them were wearing like hazmat suits, some were wearing construction outfits, some of them were wearing SWAT gear. So they're common zombies who are just a bit tougher, hence the uncommon part. The ones in Left 4 Dead 2, the passing DLC, those guys are called Fallen Survivors. And basically, the way Chet Falasek from Valve described it to me a moment ago is, imagine if the survivors that we're seeing here were not immune to the virus. So, as you know, they're able to get attacked by zombies left and right, and they're immune. So they don't take any damage, which is certainly nice for them, but not so nice for the Fallen survivors. So basically, those are guys that are equipped with all the gear of a normal survivor. So they've got like cool guns, they've got gear, they've got med kits, they've got pills, they've got whatever you're gonna find on your normal survivor, but they are infected by the virus. So they're a little bit of a threat to you. Now, they're not quite the same as a normal one, because if they see you, chances are they're gonna take off running. So you might wonder, why would I attack them if they're not too much of a threat? The answer is, because they have all that cool gear. And say you're at the beginning of the campaign, you have like a measly little submachine gun and you want an M16 or a desert rifle or something like that, why not go after them? They might even have one of these sweet M60s like this one right here. So yeah, that's what the Fallen Survivors are all about. So, you know, a new little wrinkle to the Left 4 Dead 2 formula should be pretty cool. I haven't encountered one just yet. They're supposedly pretty tricky. They'll, you know, like I said, they'll take off running. The other really cool part of the passing that I should have really mentioned at the very beginning, because it's definitely the highlight, is the fact that you encounter the original Left 4 Dead survivors at the beginning of this campaign and again at the end. And what my buddy Chet Falasek told me is, oh, guess who just fell off the ledge? The dumbest guy in the world, moi. What he told me is that you run into them, and towards the end of the game, that final last stand at the end of this campaign, they're actually going to help you out, and they'll sort of like help you in the fight. Oh, there's a spitter. Took that one out. Those ladies are nasty. I do not want them to get near me. So I asked Chet about dialogue. There's going to be a whole bunch of new dialogue in the passing. Ellis has got some new stories about his buddy Keith. Francis, you remember Francis, the biker from Left 4 Dead 1, who hated everything in the world. He hates vans. He hates zombies. Oh, he probably hates witches too. I shouldn't have startled that witch. Oh gosh. Oh boy. I need my buddies to come help me out. Please, 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 please. All right. Whew. That was close. That was definitely close. So Francis has new stuff that he hates. Ellis has new stories about his buddy Keith. And there's a lot of interaction between the new survivors and the old survivors, which looks really cool. So that's your look at the passing DLC from Left 4 Dead 2. Valve hasn't really figured out a price on this just yet, but it will be released towards the end of March. So definitely keep an eye out for that, and also keep an eye out for more X10 coverage coming your way.
There you go. There's Sean's impressions of Left 4 Dead 2 DLC called The Passing. Right now we're joined by Kevin Van Ord, GameSpot reviews editor extraordinaire. You were at X10 to see, well, you saw Alan Wake.
I did.
But give me your impressions of the event first. It's been a while since you've been at a press event, so what was the experience like?
It is a reviews editor. We're not often at these kinds of things,
right.
So it's always nice to go. And of course, it's always kind of it's a little bit of a madhouse in there. You got all these journalists walking around, and we, luckily it's close to the office, so we all walked over and took turns doing our stuff, and it's always nice to run into fellow journalists though from other outlets though, so that's always fun.
I know you were there to see Alan Wake, but did anything else catch your eye while you were there?
Well, I did catch a little bit of Lost Planet 2, something I'm excited about. I don't know, like part of the Lost Planet's excitement is the snow. So losing the snow, my mind's still not made up. And I saw some Dead Rising 2, which there's a lot of pink in that game.
A lot of pink?
Yeah, it looks like there's a lot of pink in that game. So I guess it's in Las Vegas.
Fortune City, I think it's called.
So that makes a little bit of sense.
Very nice. So we got your impressions of Alan Wake coming up. I guess that's loaded up and ready to go. And I know, but before we get to that, this is a game you've been anticipating for a long time.
It is a game I've been anticipating. It's one of those things where, it's a psychological horror game. Traditionally, this is a genre where things happen really slowly. You move slowly and laboriously. The combat may be kind of slow and sluggish. And so, I've been looking at it, but I've been trying to keep an open mind about it. And it was really good to see it today because it kind of assuaged some of my fears about what could happen.
If nothing else, it's good to know that it's almost here.
Yeah, they announced a release date today, May 18th in the U.S., and I think it was May 20th or 21st in Europe.
Right around the corner. So let's kick it off with Kevin's impressions from X10 of Alan Wake.
Hey everybody, Kevin Van Ord here. I am at X10 in San Francisco, of course, and I just had the pleasure of seeing a gameplay demo of Alan Wake, made by the good folks at Remedy. Probably some of the biggest news so far that we've heard from X10 is release date, definite release date for Alan Wake. It is coming on May 18th, so definitely looking forward to that. But in the meanwhile, I was really happy to see some live gameplay today. And just a quick refresher on Alan Wake. It's a psychological horror game, and you play, of course, as Alan Wake. One of the most interesting things about the game, of course, is that it's set up as a television series, a series of TV episodes. So there's a lot that we saw that reminds you of that. Manuscripts that you find, and it's set up in a series of episodes. And we saw an episode towards the beginning of the game as well as an episode later on. Remedy talked a lot about how the episodes were set up in terms of setting up first as a thriller and then later as an action series. So the first part we saw was a little bit quiet, meant to increase the thriller portion. You're in a village, you get to meet with the folks in a diner, and you're there to meet up with somebody so that you can get the keys to his cabin. So a lot of this is it's quite lovely. You're walking around in a diner. It's obviously a typical small town with people that know everybody else, and you get to chat with some of those people. There's a lot of stuff to do there. It's maybe typical for this type of game where you can go up and talk to people. They'll respond. You can talk about everything from the contents of the coffee, but then you go to get your keys, and as it turns out, the gentleman you're supposed to meet isn't there. Instead, a shadowy figure gives you the keys. It's all shrouded in mystery. It's very dark. You go down a dark hallway to get there, and that kind of sets up what's to come. And what we saw later kind of indicates the second half. Alan Wake is a game all about light and dark. So as a result, you're meant to use the light to your advantage in order to conquer the darkness. And we saw a lot of combat in the second half. Of course, Alan carries around a flashlight, as you may know if you've seen previous coverage. That helps you defeat your enemies, which are called the Taken. And using the flashlight, you can keep the enemies at bay while filling them with lead with a shotgun, or even better, shoot a flare. And that flare produces a lot of light and helps keep you safe at the same time. It looked really interesting in terms of a psychological horror game. Usually you associate, things like slow movement, slow turning, kind of laborious combat. And it looks like Alan Wake doesn't feature any of those things. The turning speed is swift. You can walk pretty quickly. You can sprint when need to. And of course, the whole thing looks very cinematic, as you would expect for a game based on a TV series. But it wasn't all just deep and hard. Of course, it was very dark. We saw a bit where Alan is walking up to a dam with two companions. There was some comic relief, though. Probably my favorite little bit was one of Alan's friends is covered in Christmas lights, and he's wearing Christmas lights as if to indicate that he's warding off, the Taken, as if you would use garlic with vampires. So there is a little bit of humor there, but of course, for the most part, it's very intense. Towards the end of the demo, we got to see some possessed objects in action. Just as Alan's going to enter a doorway to get into the dam, you see possessed giant spools come barreling at Alan, and at this point he's separated from his comrades, and it's quite frightening and quite scary. A few moments later, he's attacked by what looks like a big flock of shadow birds, for lack of a better term to call them. If you think about maybe the krill from Gears of War, you might have a little bit of an idea of what we saw there. And the demo ended with a giant van, possessed van, coming hurtling towards Alan. Cut to a to-be-continued scene, and the demo was over. Obviously, we're looking forward to more Alan Wake coming on May 18th. So we're very excited about that. A lot of great stuff. In the meanwhile, I'm going to throw it back to the studio where we've got a lot more about X10 on its way. Over to you.
Well, there you go. There's your first details on Alan Wake, or I guess updated details on Alan Wake. Kevin, I have a question for you. This game's been in development for 5 years. Does it, in terms of what you saw, does it seem like a game that has been in development for that long? Is there that kind of like pristine quality that you would expect?
I was really shocking actually how polished up it looks and how polished up it looks like it feels.
Yeah.
I did get a chance to play some, but I can't talk about that.
Okay.
So I have to stick with the demo. But yeah, it was really striking in how it looked. And
hands-on impressions coming soon, I
Coming
hope?
soon. Look for them tomorrow. Absolutely.
Okay. Awesome. And I think when we were talking before we began here about combat, you were sort of surprised by how combat works, or tell me about combat.
Yeah, usually in a survival horror game, you expect things to go really slow and laborious, and things don't necessarily feel all that quick. But when you move about with Alan, like the flashlight always moves quickly, and you kind of turn behind the flashlight, and it makes for kind of like it looks like it makes for kind of a smooth experience. Watching it up on the screen, it looked really easy, and he turned quickly, and it looked like things flowed together really smoothly.
Did you get a better sense of the story out of this demo?
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of interesting. If you're not aware, it's kind of set up where Alan is an author, and as he's going through this story, it's kind of narrated as a serial television show. And as you go through, he's discovering manuscripts that are apparently things that he wrote but didn't write.
Okay.
It's kind of hard to describe, but
right.
these are pages for a book that he was planning on writing but never wrote.
Okay.
So, and then those things are happening before his very eyes.
Okay.
So
lots of mystery to unfold as we play the game, I'm sure. And as you said at the top, this game's coming soon, right?
May 18th.
All right, can't wait. Thanks for that. And we're going to take a look at a game I know that Kevin is anticipating as well, myself, and probably a lot of you guys as well. We're going to take a look at Splinter Cell Conviction. Our man Chris Waters was at X10. He saw the game. Let's hear his impressions.
I'm early on. I'm infiltrating the mansion of Sam Fisher's daughter's killer. I've already dispatched a bunch of his dudes, upgraded some of my weapons, and now I'm looking to dispatch some more, so let's check it out. Here I'm heading through. You can see it's in full color now, which means I'm visible. Splinter Cell's all about the visible versus invisible. Now, no one's detected me, so it's black and white. I can, as in all Splinter Cell games, you want some shadow, you got to make it yourself. But fortunately, the enemies still stand out. You can see them all down there. I'm actually hoping to take those guys out. It sort of colors the objects you can, really interact with. So here I'm thinking, shoot that big thing hanging down, and I'll smash those two dudes. Right? Sound good? I'm not sure if I can shoot through this glass. Let's give it a shot. Nope, gonna have to maneuver to another spot. Let's get up this pipe. Now this may be a more rugged, less geared up Sam Fisher, but he's a Sam Fisher we know and love. He climbs on pipes, and he brings death from above. Now I'm gonna take a shot at this thing and see what happens. And see, of course, they're all investigating the source of that, which gives me a chance to maybe position myself for some more close-range kills. I want to make that a shadow. And here I'm going to show you, I'm going to try to line up something that Conviction does that's really interesting. It's killing multiple dudes. You sort of set them up. You earn these auto executions by performing well in the game, and then, whoop, and then you can tag guys. Like I just tagged him, and now he's got the arrow over his head. And I tag that guy. If I can get them both in my sights at the same time, I'll be able to execute them in one fell swoop. So let's cause some ruckus and maybe they'll come to us. And there we go, boom, boom. And I'm on my way. Looks like there's one more guy over there. They also, you see over here is my shadow. That's my last known position. They're gonna be checking that out. Oh, now I'm a little exposed here. They're gonna be checking that out, trying to spot me, so it behooves me to get elsewhere. And then I can take advantage of where they think I am. Now he's gonna check out that dead body. And I'm gonna get myself a human shield. Now you can just nix this guy right off, or you can throw him into people to sort of distract them. That's what I'm gonna try to do because, let's face it, it's fun, and you get rewards for doing this kind of stuff. They've got a system that gives you points for doing very Sam Fisher-esque things, being stealthy, killing guys in stealthy ways. And if I can use this dude creatively, then I might get some of those points. Of course, we're going in loud here. They can't help but notice that I've got one of their dudes. Now this is not going so well. I'm a little bit, okay, it's cool, it's fine. Uh-oh. And I'm dead. Sticking to stealth is Sam Fisher's strength, of course. So there's a quick look at Splinter Cell Conviction. I'm gonna try that again, see if I can do a little better. Glad you folks at home got a look at this, and now on with the show.
It's always painful when your demo ends when you die, Chris Waters. What's up with that? Kevin Van Ard, we're both looking forward to Splinter Cell Conviction.
Oh, yes.
That game looks so cool. I don't know what I'm looking forward to more, the single-player game or the multiplayer, which looks fantastic.
The multiplayer looks fantastic, but I gotta tell you, the single player is what's really catching my eye. I love the storytelling and the way the narrative bits pop up on the screen and the way that they do, and I just think that it looks really immersive and tells the story in only the way a game can.
Yeah.
It's not trying to be a movie, it's telling the story only the way a game can, and that's something that we should be very thankful for.
So you've got write-ups to do tonight.
Oh yeah.
Tell me what your night looks like in terms of X10 coverage.
It's going to be a busy night. In fact, poor Chris, who would have been sitting in this chair instead of me, is unfortunately already back over there where I'm supposed to be to cover some Xbox Live Arcade games. Okay. So it looks like I'll probably be heading back over there and getting some more stuff to write.
One of the games that's over there is Toy Soldiers. You need to check that game out. It looks really cool.
It looks pretty cool from what I saw, yeah.
All right, well, we'll let you get back over there. Right now, but before we do that, we've got some Lost Planet 2 footage we want to show you guys. It's got a familiar face in there, so let's roll that footage right now. Fighting, it looks like a big monster, arachnid. And who is that guy fighting? Is that Dom?
Wait, what?
Is he doing combat rolls?
Wait, what?
You knew the Gears of War guys were in this game, right?
I'm just now finding out.
Yeah. Dom and Marcus are in this game.
That's pretty awesome. Now, is that just a multiplayer thing, or is that...
I don't know.
Is there some kind of story crossover? Does that even happen?
I think they just said, hey, Epic guys, can we use Dom and Marcus? And they're like, sure, we like Lost Planet 2.
Ah, that works.
So I don't know how it fits into the overall scheme of Lost Planet 2, but hey, Dom's getting busy right now. Or is that Marcus? The do-rag says Marcus to me.
Yeah. And dude, Marcus shoot for the glowy bits.
Yeah, don't you, Marcus?
know that?
Have you never played Lost Planet before?
Or any other game?
Shoot for the glowy bits is right. All right, well, there's your sneak peek at Lost Planet 2. More of that coming. Like I said, guys, X10 coverage is coming all night. Kevin and those guys, I'm going to head over there at some point and check out some stuff. So expect more coverage all night tonight and a whole bunch of other stuff coming throughout the rest of the day, and maybe even into the weekend. We're getting close to the end of the show now, but we want to make sure you guys have some trivia stuff to give away. I mentioned we have the Final Fantasy 13 Xbox 360 covers. We've got, I think, 5 of these to give away. And we also have some Xseed stuff. We have 4 games from our friends at Xseed. We have The Wizard of Oz, Half Minute Hero, which I've heard is really
Rad
good.
game.
Yep. Rune Factory Frontier, I don't know much about this one, and Little King Story. We're going to have give away all that stuff. Let's give away the Xseed stuff first with a trivia question. Guys, do you have that trivia question ready to go? If not, I'll just read it. Here it is. Trivia question for all 4 of these games is, when was the original Ragnarok released? Of course, we had that demo for the DS version of Ragnarok early in the show, but that's not the original Ragnarok. And what year was that released? And you will win these 4 games. Pretty awesome. And now it's time to give away the faceplates for the Xbox 360 faceplates for Final Fantasy 13. We've got a trivia question for that as well. Let's kick that one up on screen. If not, I'll just read it, guys. I can read, man, all day long. How many playable characters are there in Final Fantasy 13? That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's actually a good one.
Yeah. I don't know the answer to that, but maybe you do. And if you do, fill out the trivia module here on the side. Send us an email at onthespot@gamespot.com, and you will have a shot at winning one of these awesome faceplates for your Xbox 360. That's about the end of the show. But look, we've got a lot of stuff coming up in the next few days. Tomorrow, we have Heavy Rain now playing. We're going to be playing a chunk of that game. I believe, Sophia, and were you part of that, Kevin?
And I certainly was.
Okay. Well, we're going to check out that tomorrow at 4 o'clock. And then on Saturday, we have another episode of On the Spot. Today on the Spot, we're going to have a look at Skate 3. Had an event this week, the folks at EA did. Taking a look at FIFA 10 Ultimate Tournament. And we have something special coming up for Valentine's Day, which you guys know is this weekend. If you don't, you better get yourself to the drugstore and buy your Valentine's Day card. Anyway, there's the show, your X10 show. Appreciate you guys being here, and we will see you guys tomorrow for Now Playing and Saturday for another episode of Today on the Spot.